Hey there. Do you dare? If you're into true crime, the paranormal, mysteries, and everything in between, check out Do You Dare? It's a podcast where siblings Emily and Kian Dare dive into the cases that fascinate and unsettle them. They take turns picking the stories, true crime, ghostly encounters, unsolved mysteries, and share all the details with each other and you. Plus, you'll hear the occasional cameo from Emily's dog Kylo and his squeaky toy. If you're looking for something intriguing, creepy, and a little bit fun, give Do You Dare a listen wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, come back next week, if you dare. Canadian Creepies is recorded on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, under the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. These lands and waters have been cared for since long before Canada existed, and they remain deeply important to Indigenous communities today. As we tell stories about darkness, injustice, and memory, I want to acknowledge the very real histories of colonization, violence, and erasure that Indigenous peoples continue to endure. A land acknowledgement can't undo that harm, but it is a reminder to keep listening, learning, and supporting in truth and reconciliation in meaningful ways. We share these stories not to forget, but to shine light, always with respect for peoples and nations whose land we live on. Canadian Creepies covers true crime, dark history, and disturbing events. Some episodes may include graphic descriptions or sensitive subject matter. We do our best to handle every story with care and respect for those affected. That said, we sometimes use humor and sarcasm as a way to process heavy content, never to disrespect victims, survivors, or their families. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Canadian Creepies. I am your co-host, Valerie.
And I'm your co-host, Amanda Joy.
And I am getting blasted the fuck out of my headphones right now. It's absolutely loud. Kyle's not here. It's so loud in my ears. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm also trying to prevent Richard from jumping on the keyboard.
Knocking over all the stuff.
I know. We're off to a great start, really.
Yeah, all the animals are like, what are you doing?
That's right.
Can I partake?
In addition to the root canal I had yesterday.
Oh, yeah. You look good, though.
It's not that bad. They freeze you right up.
I've never had one.
They freeze you right up.
John's mom has.
Had the giggles. If I do that, is that okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. I just turned it down a little bit. Richard, you just can't.
He's like,
just can't.
But I am.
Oh, man. This is going to be good for when we have like a video element.
Yeah.
With which is something we're going to do, by the way. We're going to add a video element
we're working
on a
on
Patreon. That is in the works. It's writing, also down here, it's writing sheet music for us.
I like it.
I'm going to leave that on. Whatever Kyle has on, it's writing a score for us. Out of our voice.
Canadian Creepies.
The
musical.
Yes. So this episode has been researched by Christine.
What up, Christine?
She used Stoppel the Book, the Province of Manitoba archived news releases, CBC News, the wrongfulconvictions.ca, the Canadian Encyclopedia, the Corey Wise Innocence Project in the University of Colorado Boulder, the Supreme Court of Canada, and CBC News.
Part of why this is so damn thorough. Quite thorough.
It's very thorough. And it's amazing. And now we can give you all the information.
All the deets.
Thank you,
the
Christine.
down low.
Thank you, Christine. I'm not going to do a post about this yet, but I wanted to. Nice catch. I think I should talk about the artist call out a little bit.
Richard just has a mind of his own today.
Mind of his own. Do you think I should do that?
Let's get into it. Let's tell them.
Okay.
I'm amped up. The artist in me is like,
Yes. Okay. So here as you guys know, I cannot agree with fast fashion. I just can't do it. Whatever. That's why we have Back from the Dead Goods as one of our sponsors. And I'm sure they might hop on this as well. Before I say numbers, should I start with the numbers? No. I'm trying to think about how I should. I'm just going to read it how it's written here. Okay, I'm going to dig right into it. Artists keep ownership of their work. Oh, this is what I didn't want, Richard.
He stopped it, I think.
No, we're still going. Okay. So artists, you guys will keep ownership of your work. So you would be licensing and not buying rights. You set your base price as an artist, and I am transparent about the split, about like how you will profit and I will profit, which I will get into in a moment. And I will also here at Canadian Creepies, we will actively promote you, not just the product. And we have some other stuff that will be thought out as well. But I need to know who's interested in this. Basically, here's some numbers. Let's say, well, there's two options for numbers. So there's like, and I got ChatGPT to help me with this. So there's like a fair split model, which we'll call option A. So the artist keeps 70 to 85%, and Canadian Creepies gets 15 to 30% of a sale. Or there's another sweet spot where an artist gets 75 to 80, or the sweet spot is, 75 to 80%, and we get 20 to 25%. This works really well if you, the artist, handle production. And if you ship directly to customers, we are providing audience and promotion. I'm also considering doing artists 80 to 90% and us 10 to 20%. We just take a small cut to support the show, as artists come first. As well, there would be a listener discount for your art. That would be Canadian Creepies themed. And commission is tied to the code usage. For example, if a shirt is $30, a listener pays $27 with 10% off, and the artist, you still get the majority cut. Yeah. And we would also, so your percentage comes from the remaining margin, and we would make sure the discount doesn't eat into you, the artist's cut, unless you like explicitly agree. So if something is $5, maybe that's not good for the code.
Yeah.
Some items, you shouldn't have the code available for, but we would talk to you about that. Yeah.
I am working on some Canadian themed art.
Love that.
For that myself. Canadian Creepies themed.
Amazing. I'm not good at that stuff, so that's why I thought.
Some ideas in my head.
And I want people to be able to buy Canadian Creepies merch, but I also want to support artists. So if you are an artist, if you paint, if you make clothes, Christine does macrame.
She does.
So she's going to do some
little
cute
thingies.
macrame. So she's going to do some Canadian Creepies macrame, which you, the listener, will get a discount on. Amanda's going to do some stuff. Back from the Dead Goods. I'm going to reach out to her. She might do some stuff. But anyway, should we get into it?
I'm down.
Are you okay?
Yes, my phone just made a very weird noise, and I was like, I don't know what that notification is.
It did. But yeah, so the artist call out, I haven't done a post about it or anything yet, but it's in the works. And if you're interested in that, send us an email, message me, you know all the stuff. Ready?
Let's dive in to Barbara Stoppel, Part a Million.
Part a Million. Barbara Stoppel, Part 1672. So we're going to talk about the appeal and legal review. Right? Mm-hmm. So I said that, and then I was like, right? And you said, yep. And I exited out of it. Because why? Oops. Now I'm panicking and pressing all the wrong buttons. Okay. So this is when and how Thomas Sofenow appealed. This is more about the review rather than the appeals.
Because he just wants to prove to everybody
he didn't do
I'm
it.
innocent.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't do it. I was emotionally distraught.
You assholes.
Yeah, for real.
Like-
For real. Physically, once released from prison, Sofenow was a free man, but psychologically, he would remain in prison for years to come. Absolutely understandable.
Yeah.
1986 marked the beginning of an ordeal that would have him request a review of the case to find the real killer. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's like, not only am I innocent, let's find the real killer. His communications in written and verbal form to the police, the courts, and politicians all landed on deaf ears. Of course they would.
They didn't care. They were convinced it was him. Even
Yes.
though they had all the information that it wasn't him.
Yes, yes. Oh, P.S. All the snarky comments that we thought that we weren't sure if it was snarky, sassy, awesome comments. Not like snarky bad, snarky good.
Hilarious.
Cunty comments. Like in a good way. Like they're just like giving
Giving all the sass.
the sass, like, you know.
The razzmatazz.
I love it. Exactly. Christine's like, she's like, okay, what are they on about? No, those are Christine's comments, the hilarious comments that we're laughing about. We're like, we're not sure whose these are, but they're Christine's. So if that happens again, we know it's Christine and she will get her flowers. He was quoted. He was quoted, "I'm pleading with you, the media, to do anything you can to help me put an end to this matter and help me disclose the one thing I've been fighting for all this time, for the truth." NDP Attorney General Roland Penner responded that there was a huge difference between being found not guilty because the Crown didn't prove its case and being found innocent. Oof. Mm-hmm. Relax. Is General Roland Penner the creep of the week now? I'm just kidding. See, just because they're NDP doesn't mean I won't go after them.
Nobody is safe from Mallory.
Nobody is safe. You have to be ethical. I forgot where I was. I'm getting carried away. We haven't recorded in like a week.
He was quoted.
Okay. He was quoted, "There has been a formal request from Mr. Sofenow through counsel, not only for compensation, but for the appointment of a commission of inquiry to examine the conduct of the police in the investigation and the production of evidence in the Sofenow case." That's a fucking fair thing.
He's not wrong.
Good for Thomas Sofenow, honestly.
Way to call a spade a spade.
Yes, good for
Right?
Thomas Sofenow.
You stole her panties.
Because you wanted to maybe write a book? Are you okay?
15 years later and you don't know where they are now?
And the other guy is
quotes.
insisting. And the one guy's like insisting on being involved with the case, even though they're like, no, stop.
But yeah, you did everything ethically.
Yes. Douchebags. Okay. I love that I keep losing my face. There has been a
She did just have an oral surgery yesterday,
I did just
guys.
have oral surgery yesterday. In the investigation of the
us.
production of evidence in the Sofenow case. In my considered view, Madam Speaker, there is no need for such an inquiry. Sofenow sent another letter to Mr. G. Garson, the director of the Manitoba Law Society, dated July 10th, 1986. I am sending you a copy of this letter, hoping that you, as Chief Justice of Manitoba, can somehow help me in my plight in obtaining some kind of public inquiry or royal commission into my case, and help me to discover why I had to spend 45 months of my life in prison for a crime I did not commit.
Snaps.
Straight up.
Snaps.
Yeah. Mr. Penner openly stated that to be compensated for my being falsely imprisoned, I have to prove my innocence conclusively. I believe being acquitted by the Manitoba Court of Appeal and my acquittal being held by the Supreme Court of Canada is adequate proof of innocence for any Canadian.
There was the yogurt shop murders where the 4 girls were murdered. They thought they had the guys. They made them confess. The cop who got them to confess was also convicted of causing other forced confessions in other things.
Right on.
They figured out who was the actual killer through DNA. These guys had been acquitted and like released from prison before they found the DNA, but they weren't given any financial compensation until the DNA results came out. And then they got, I think it was 80 grand for every year that they were in prison. But they were like, yeah, the court just didn't agree with what our decision was. It hasn't proved that you're innocent. And it's kind of the same.
You didn't
issues.
do it, but you're not innocent.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
That was Texas, I believe.
Wow. Year after year went by, and although he was pardoned on August 19th, 1993, no one would review the case. In 1998, armed with a new lawyer, Paul Bennett from Toronto, who was working for the AIDWC, you might as well just say the Association in Defense of the Wrongly Convicted, because that's not a short acronym.
No.
He continued to seek justice. Bennett wrote more letters to the Manitoba government, meeting with the same response. Sofenau wrote to the Prime Minister, all federal MPs, the heads of Manitoba government, and the justice critics. CJOB radio journalist and talk show host Peter Warren contacted Sofenau and requested that he go on his show. He eagerly agreed, and while on air, he gave out Gary Filmon's private phone number, demanding people call it if they felt he was guilty of murder and demand the case be reopened. He also requested that those who believed him innocent should also call and demand the case be reviewed. The phone response was so large that it prompted the premier to change his number, and more pressure was put on police to review the case.
Speaking of handing out numbers publicly, do you know Doug Ford's number is public right now?
Give it to me right now.
I have to find, I saved the TikTok. It was a girl I found. She does a lot of things about all this stupid shit that Doug Ford does.
Yeah. I'll publish it on this podcast. I don't care.
I'm pretty sure, maybe I did send it to you on TikTok, but I'm pretty sure he made a comment about that because he bought that, private jet. and he's like, people, we got a response. My number's the only number that's public. I'm like one of the only politicians in Canada that will do that. See what a good guy I am. And he's like, the response was that it's not the time. So we're selling it, because he got bombarded with text messages saying to sell his private jet.
Sell the jet. Check the pond. Sell the jet. Read the room. My God. Sofenau's persistence and longing for justice was the reason for the case to be reopened. In early 1999, he wrote yet another letter to the chief of the Winnipeg Police asking for a review. That letter was forwarded to Constable John Birchill for follow-up on September 21st, 1999. Birchill prepared a 98-page report entitled Analysis of Barbara Gale Stoppel Death. Wow, very original. Birchill's investigative review, later known as the Birchill Report, provided an in-depth analysis of the initial investigation.
I have his number. I found it.
Oh, okay. Okay. What is it?
This is Ontario Premier Doug Ford's number.
Okay.
647.
Yeah.
612.
Yeah.
3673.
3673.
I knew I had saved it. Sorry to interrupt you there. I was just very excited that I actually had saved it.
That's fine. Send message. You are poo. Your government is too. Poo, to, moo, q, boo.
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 We could work boo in somehow.
Healthcare is boo. Healthcare is underfunded, boo.
Grossly underfunded.
Yeah.
She's really texting this guy.
Grossly underfunded, boo. Okay, wait. Your government. Okay, wait. You are poo. Your government is too. Is your while you are, because it's his government. Yeah.
Yeah.
Healthcare is grossly underfunded, boo. You think I should just leave it there?
Boo to Rousseau.
Should I say I have tooth decay because of you? He'd be like, he's like, how could I have possibly caused your tooth decay?
Dental care is a big part of actual overall health care, and it is not included in any of our...
I was on my way to an infected jaw there. Well on my way. I'm just going to send it. Healthcare is grossly underfunded. Boo.
Boo.
Okay. I
think
that's
whore.
Good. And then I should send a meme. Nah, I'm going to leave it at that and go back to what we were saying. Okay, so that has been texted. Birchill's investigative review, later known as the Birchill Report, provided an in-depth analysis of the initial investigation, the arrest of Safanow, his trials, and appeal decisions. He concluded that Safanow was still a viable suspect in the murder.
Oh.
The review also dissected many shortcomings and several other persons who may be considered as suspects. The report was subsequently sent to the office of the chief of police with Birchill's recommendation to have investigators assigned to follow it up.
Wasn't Birchill the guy from like episode 1 or 2 who was like...
Oh my God. That was Arrow knocking stuff off the top of the fridge.
But as I was saying before, Arrow rudely interrupted me.
Come on, dude.
I'm pretty sure Birchill was the cop from BC who was like, this is our guy.
In reference to Safanow?
Yeah, in the original.
Oh, yes. He was the one who was like, the name just like was on his desk and he was like, this must be the guy.
Yeah, because I think he
called in the tip.
Yeah, yes. He got the tip in and he saw the photo or he sent the photo. I'm pretty sure he saw the photo.
Yes.
And was like, yeah, he fits. I mean, he did fit the description.
Straight up.
He was immediately like, yeah, this is the guy. We don't need to test the thread. We don't need to do
Why do we need to test anything? Okay. So who reviewed the case? Was it a judicial inquiry or appeal court? Author of the definitive book on the case, Andrew, would be temporarily assigned to the homicide unit to investigate a highly confidential cold case, the murder of Barbara Stoppel. He would be working with Sergeant Blair Vogan and Detective Sergeant Bob Legge.
Boo.
They were told that in all likelihood, they would be finished in a few weeks. It was a review and probably wouldn't be going anywhere. They were initially told that the review might take a few weeks or perhaps a few months. In total, they spent a year and a half uncovering the truth and setting in motion the exoneration of an innocent man and the search for a real killer.
See, even afterwards, they were just not taking it seriously at all.
They're like, is what it is. Soon Legge and Andrew the author would inherit the mistrust of former and current investigators, past Crown attorneys, and lawyers representing them, suggesting a hidden agenda the investigators had. The truth of the matter was that they represented the interests of their client and the investigators represented the victim. They were also fighting for the exoneration of a man who many would agree should have never been charged.
Glaringly so.
Yes, should never have been charged. As mentioned earlier, the suspect's name was all over the the documents the investigators reviewed. To say that Andrew the author was dumbfounded to see all the initial evidence pointing to another suspect is an understatement. It was appalling. This was an era in the Winnipeg police history where frontline officers were actually charged internally for not wearing their hats while on duty. Yet there seemed to be no consequences for missing such obvious clues in this murder.
Priorities. No wonder their policing methods are so convoluted and all over the place.
Honestly.
You don't have your priorities straight.
That's right.
You are too worried about the wrong thing.
Yes. Even more alarming was the realization that the real killer was in fact a suspect months before Safanow was ever interviewed. And all the investigation team had to do was read the first part of their report. Wow.
Seriously.
Check the pond.
Check the fucking pond.
All right, we're going to talk about the judicial inquiry and the many difficulties involved. Actually, do you want to do this one?
No, I'll take over.
Yeah, you do that one.
You do that one.
Yeah.
So the inquiry into Safanow's wrongful conviction was just around the corner, and the executive appeal to be in self-preservation mode. The commission of the inquiry regarding the investigation and prosecution of Safanow began in October of 2000 and continued until June of 2001. There were many competing interests that had legal representation or standing during the inquiry. They included Thomas Sofino, the Stoppel family, the Manitoba Association of the Crown Attorneys, the City of Winnipeg, the Province of Manitoba, the Winnipeg Police Association, the Crown's Attorney, George Dangerfield, Greg Lauer.
What a name, George Dangerfield.
Dangerfield. Stu Whitley and...
They call me Dangerfield.
James Dangerfield, 006.
006.
And Robert Gossman. It also included the Justice Department of Manitoba. The inquiry initially was initiated with the premise of Sofino's innocence, and its purpose was to learn how an innocent man was imprisoned and to recommend ways of avoiding similar occurrences in the future. Lastly, it was to discern what compensation he should receive for what he endured. I mean, not wrong.
Much. He should receive so much.
The lawyers representing each participant's interest attempted to minimize their client's responsibility. That was their job. Many fingers were pointed, especially at Andrew and Legge, who had no legal representation, and yet their work formed the backbone of the information presented. Yes, they may have used unconventional tactics. Hey, as long as it's legal, I'm for it. But for reasons they had no knowledge of, no one could be charged with the murder. With that door shut, they had another job, proving Sofino's innocence. Even from the onset, their worst fears were beginning to become a reality. Andrew had told Rick Stoppel that they needed to keep one fact out, the destruction of the exhibits. I don't think they should have kept that out.
They should have just outed Buddy.
Because WTF.
Yeah, not cool.
Everyone from the executive to the city lawyers knew that the evidence had been destroyed. So yeah, why are you keeping it out if everybody already knows?
Yeah.
Address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
On October 17th...
I guess because you can't prove it was destroyed. Unless you can.
I don't know. Well, he did admit to it. He told them that's why he didn't have it anymore, that he did take it. And he said someone told him to destroy it, but couldn't say who.
Yes, that's true. Because it was me. Someone. That's like someone in here farted.
Whoever smelt it dealt it.
Yeah, that's right.
On October 17th, 2000, Rick called Andrew at home. There were big rumors going around the legal community that a policeman had destroyed exhibits and taken some home. The next day, Andrew told Vogan about the rumor and expressed his concerns of keeping it out of the media. I think once it's a rumor,
you're screwed.
Like if the family is hearing about it, the media absolutely is going to get their hands on that.
Yeah.
Again, Andrew strongly recommended that they should interview Arnold as soon as possible. Detectives Brown, Allen, and Legge all agreed. If the constant recommendation of interviewing Arnold appears redundant, imagine how the investigators felt. It was documented in page after page in the investigators' notebooks. At this point, it was felt that it really wasn't a police investigation anymore, and Legge and Andrew were simply going through the motions, while the real focus was on the inquiry and the other people's agenda. So they're kind of out there doing their own thing, but their own thing was working.
Right?
To make matters worse, investigators learned that bite analysis was still far from being complete in Calgary for the Lapierre murder. Unfortunately, their case was similar to theirs. They too were missing the crucial exhibits, and their Crown had decided to not charge Arnold without a confession. Andrew updated Vogan on the news from Calgary, and the lawyers that were representing the Stoppel family, Jay Prober, great name, knew that Ken had destroyed exhibits because he's a dick.
Yes.
I don't even think he destroyed them. I think he kept them and has them hidden somewhere as like trophies.
Totally. I can see that.
He's already admitted to stealing her underwear.
Yeah.
He's
like going to will them too.
Right.
Somebody in his family thinks he's left them like a huge treasure. It's like gross,
scene.
dirty underwear. Crime scene.
So Legge and Andrew met with city lawyers who asked them to provide information on Sofino's dark character before he was arrested. They were insulted by the request and refused to do so. Were you going to say something there?
Yeah, it was because, no, we're good. You said that. Issue out of the inquiry, you read that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. This is just my dental work.
You're good. You're good. After they outlined the devastation that Sophonos suffered, though, they looked at them and stated, quote, "You will not be testifying at the inquiry." On November 8th, Andrew received a phone call from the
28th, sorry.
Oh, sorry, 28th. Yes, thank you. See, you're not that loopy. You're good. So Andrew received a phone call from the BC Crown Richard Peck. Arnold's appeal hearing was now set for May 18th, 2001 in Vancouver. 2 applications had been brought up for the mistrial, and there was a possibility that the judge may concede the appeal and order a new trial in January of 2001.
So many trials.
So many trials.
My God, how many tax dollars were spent on this? Children are hungry. Continue.
So the pressure was on to act. If Arnold got his appeal, perhaps he would be released, which we do not want.
We do not want that.
They relayed the news to Peck and again stressed to Vaughan that they needed to interview Arnold now. In fact, they may have waited too long and their last chance may have been lost because they need him to confess to their case as well. And if he's not in jail, there's no finding him. He's going to be gone in the wind after this. He also stated that city lawyers would do anything to keep Andrew and Legge from testifying at the inquiry, labeling them as tainted.
They are tainted.
But for good reasons.
Yes.
They're tainted with the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oddly enough, when Andrew spoke with Sophono a few weeks prior, he confided that his lawyers wanted to call Legge and Andrew to the stand. Somehow, they were kept out because they were too busy with the pursuit of the real killer.
Yeah.
Where would they have gotten that idea from? They were bored to death. Christine. On January 17th of 2001, Andrew received information from Susan Wilton that Arnold had been very apprehensive prior to Christmas about the investigation. He now believed through his lawyer that he would be getting a new trial and could be released soon. The timing for an interview could not be worse. The next day, Iwatsky. I got it.
Yeah.
And Andrew went to Rick's house to update the family on the inquiry and the case itself. They appeared clearly frustrated with the investigation to date, with little confidence that there would be any satisfaction to the case. Iwatsky told them that they knew that Arnold had killed Barb, but they couldn't come out in public and say it. The mistrust in the room was palpable, and Andrew could do nothing about it. Shortly after they left, Rick phoned Andrew and gave him even more disappointing news. His mother told him that she didn't believe a word that came out of Iwatsky's mouth, and she had clearly lost faith in them.
Yeah.
That's sad to hear, because they were really trying to do everything right.
Yeah.
I also get where Mama's coming from, though.
Totally. You'd be exhausted.
Yeah. The fatigue you would have.
Mm-hmm.
Here the investigators were, not trusted by the past investigators, ridiculed by the lawyers at the inquiry, and constantly fighting internally to have the investigation get back on track. And now they felt that they were letting this good family down. I don't think it's them. I think it's everybody else around them that's letting them down.
Totally.
The very next day, things would get worse. Shortly after noon, Rick Stoppel made a phone call to Andrew. This time, Rick was his source of information on what was going on in the inquiry. While he and Jay Prober were going through an edited copy of the murder report, they found a reference to Arnold, which should not have been there. He was also not impressed with the entry from Barb's autopsy, where Ken described the size of her breasts.
I hate that.
I fucking hate Ken.
Yeah, Ken's the worst. Ken's the worst.
I hope your pillow is never cool. It's always warm and gross.
Warm on both sides.
I seriously hope that you step on a Lego, Ken.
And that your room is always too hot for you.
And that
your blankets have holes when it's too cold.
Your bathroom smells musty all the time. And you can't fix it.
Never.
Every time you move, your bathroom still smells like mildew.
Yeah. Every time. It's been 13 years.
Andrew was deflated. He hung his head and told Vaughan, who in turn notified the city lawyers. Vogan also informed Andrew that the execute had executive, thank you.
You're welcome.
Had decided on a few options depending on several scenarios. If Arnold gets a new trial, then they would interview him that day and instruct BC Crown Peck not to advise Arnold's counsel. Isn't that illegal?
Not in the early 2000s, I guess.
If Arnold gets an appeal, then they would have to push off the inquiry. And if Calgary lays a charge, then they were going to go with them to do the interview with Arnold.
Okay.
Detectives Brown and Allen would do the interview with fucking leggy monitoring. Go away. And Andrew would not be going. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Brown and Allen were more than competent investigators, but they felt like a two-team approach was in order. Leggy and Andrew also knew Arnold more than anyone and should be involved in the interview as recommended by the FBI profiler. I don't know about Leggy, though, because Stoppel has specifically asked him not to be included in this.
Yeah.
On February 2nd...
It's like, I got to make it right and prove myself. It's like, fuck off.
You can prove yourself by respecting your victims.
That's right.
One of the victims in this case, boundaries and just pissing off.
Yep.
So on February 2nd, 2001, Andrew received a call. Did I already read that? From Susan Wilton in Calgary. And she was putting a story together on Arnold in the next few weeks and had spoken with him on several occasions. Mm-hmm. She also indicated that he told her he was going to be transferred to another prison. A few days later, he was taken to William Head Institute on Vancouver Island. She had certainly proved to be an excellent inside source on everything that was happening with Arnold. No one else was telling them shit.
Yeah.
So here they were, sitting in an office, doing nothing day after day and being briefed by a crime reporter and the brother of their victim.
Oh, my God.
I would feel so frustrated. Yeah. On February 6th, after spending the morning following up mindless tips, because they made them go through the tip file instead of trying to just block them any way possible. Mm-hmm. Vogan gave an update on the investigation. One was that the Calgary police cannot do a one-on-one comparison of the bite mark. And the second was that Uwatsky may try to put off the inquiry even if it takes a year. Andrew was then asked to provide his outline on the evidence pertaining to Arnold's guilt. Vogan would then retype it and forward it to Uwatsky. What an archaic cycle. They had done the same thing earlier, put together their reasons for believing Stoppel was innocent. Sofino. Yes, Stoppel was innocent as well, but Sofino was innocent.
Yes.
Didn't anybody read the report? Clearly nobody is reading any of the reports.
Nobody else read the report, no.
With the inquiry proceeding and their investigation at a standstill, Andrew still maintained one avenue of being involved. Susan and Andrew began to share information about Arnold, his crimes, and the path of victims he left behind. If he wasn't allowed to pursue the arrest, at least he could assist in exposing him.
Yeah.
After numerous phone calls and interviews with Arnold, Susan visited him in person at the William Head Correctional Institution on February 12th and 13th in 2001. During the two interviews, she confronted him on many points concerning Barb's murder as well as Lapierre's, Brown, and the sexual assaults on numerous other victims. He maintained his innocence, declaring that he was wrongfully convicted and that he himself was a victim. Go suck a nut.
Yeah. Yeah.
She saw him clear through the facade of deceit and told a guard as she left, "I think he may be one of the biggest liars I have ever met." True to her word, she called Andrew after the interviews and shared what she could recall. She now had enough to expose him for what he was, a psychopathic murderer and sex offender. She also knew that the case had a massive issue concerning the destruction of exhibits and the damage it would cause if that was released. In the interest of justice, she wouldn't mention it. This person was of high integrity.
Yeah.
Ms. McCaskill would update the investigators several times, indicating that an interview with Arnold was on and then off again. Kip Bent.
Yeah.
He also maintained that it would be a one-team approach. Legge again stressed the merits of having two teams, which Crown Rick Sull fully supported. In fact, he called it an obvious decision.
Obviously.
On February 26th, 2001, Birch Hill. Everything about this episode makes me so mad.
Right?
He contacted the investigators and let them know that he had received information that a friend of Arnold's aunt Lila had been told that he killed Barb. Oh. Now you're on the right side, Birch Hill.
Okay.
At 4:15 p.m., Paul Brown and Andrew interviewed Charlene.
Charlene. From Winnipeg.
She recollected that Lila had told her Thomas Sofino didn't do it. The person who did do it, my nephew, came over and told me the day of the murder. She believed that she was told this by Lila and in her apartment, and he would confess to her that he said he had really screwed up and thought he killed a girl in a donut shop. He had come over late at night before any news was in the paper, and the nephew's name was Terry.
Oh, my God.
After this revelation, they asked her why she didn't come forward years ago, and she said that Lila had the same question, and Lila had the same question, and Lila she had also asked Lila this question, and Lila said that he's crazy, and I'm afraid he'll kill me. I mean, that's valid as well.
Yeah.
Detectives Brown and Allen later interviewed her, and she had no recollection of the event. It is truly a sad commentary that even if we were armed with a corroborating statement from her, that they would still have to have a confession in this case.
Yes.
To make matters worse, the front page headlines in the Winnipeg Free Press on February 27th, 2001 read, "Stoppel killing suspect may never be charged." The chief admits police are struggling to gather evidence on Terry Arnold, and again, the interview was put on and off again.
I hate that.
A few days later, the Calgary Herald and the Vancouver Sun published the first in a series of articles titled "A Predator in a Predator's Wake." I'd be interested to get my hands on those papers.
Yeah.
The 3-part investigative series exposed Arnold publicly for the first time.
For the first time
in forever.
That's right.
The crime reporters were freely interviewing and exposing him.
Love it.
While the reinvestigative team sat at their desks, they had urged that a hard interview be done 8 months earlier. That's frustrating too. Like, why are you letting these random
the crime
people
reporters
in?
are like,
we got connects.
We'll sort it out. Don't worry.
We got you. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
In early March of 2001, the team was notified that they would finally be allowed to interview Arnold. Andrew recommended that the interview be done in conjunction with a warrant to obtain a palm print for him for comparison with the unidentified print inside the Ideal donut shop. Rick Sull again recommended a 2-team approach as they had months earlier. In fact, it was he that was responsible for Legge and Andrew being allowed to attend in unison. They had long been requesting to formally arrest and charge Arnold for the murder. By arresting him, they could remove him from prison and take him to a formal video recording interview at the nearby RCMP station. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
He would be out of his element there and would be more susceptible to a confession and possibly a deal. If they were unsuccessful, they would have him returned to William Head Institute and not proceed with charges. That's frustrating. Mm-hmm. The case would be concluded, but at least they would have given it their best attempt. Neither the province nor the chief of police would authorize the arrest, though. Andrew completed the impression warrant for Arnold's palm print, and the affidavit and the notice of motion on March 8th, 2001. They were now authorized to execute the warrant between the dates of March 8th and March 16th of 2001. During his testimony at the inquiry, Sofino accepted partial blame for his wrongful conviction.
What? He shouldn't have accepted any of that.
The Honorable Mr. Justice Peter Corey
Never trust a guy with two first names.
noted 8 falsehoods in which he felt contributed to 10% of the reason for his incarceration. 10%.
It's stupid.
Come
That's
on.
literally stupid.
Come on.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They are.
Listen, if crimes are 100%, okay?
So what are you doing about the other 90%? Is anybody going
circumstantial.
If you're making him take responsibility for 10%, are you going to make the police take responsibility for the 90%? And if so, how?
Yeah, that's
I'm
fucking crazy.
angry.
It's so stupid. It's stupid.
So these falsehoods were as followed. He did not, as he stated, crash on the night of December 23rd.
Like crashed at somebody's house?
I don't remember that, but
Okay.
anyways.
Doesn't matter.
He did not leave Winnipeg on December 24th, but on the 23rd. He was not wearing jeans. He had, in fact, been to the Dominion Shopping Center on the day of the murder, but not in the donut shop. His route out of town on the night of the 23rd was not one which would have bypassed Winnipeg. Contrary to his statement, he was familiar with St. Boniface as he had lived there. He did not make a phone call while he was in he did make phone calls while in Winnipeg, and his car did not break down only in Medicine Hat, but also on the trip back to Vancouver. These falsehoods would have made police consider him as being deceptive. Further, by not disclosing his alibi fully at the onset of the investigation, it allowed police to enter the realm of tunnel vision.
That's stupid.
I think
police are only responsible for entering the realm of tunnel vision.
for not looking at Arnold, for not testing the threat,
Yeah.
for not securing the crime scene,
For being just buttholes in general.
for lying to him about his fingerprints being in the donut shop, for not taking down his entire statement while he was there for hours on hours and only writing down your poor memory shorthand.
Yeah.
Do I need to go on?
No.
Is somebody still keeping a tally? Bring it up. So what rulings were made? In his submission, Justice Peter Corey would concur, noting, I am satisfied that there are omissions in the statement taken by Sergeants Warwick
yeah.
and Pulsion.
Yeah.
And the suggested demonstration is the most serious of those omissions. The omission in the interrogation of Thomas Sofino and the presentation of the flawed photo pack were either deliberately or grave acts of careless inadvertence.
Yeah. Thomas Sofino and the presentation of the flawed photo pack were either deliberate or gave acts of careless inadvertence.
Both.
Yeah, both.
Both.
Wow. Okay. Let's do some of this.
We told you there was a lot of information.
There
here,
might be
folks.
another part. Okay, we're going to talk about the interview with Terry Arnold. Here were the difficulties getting to the interview stage. Vaughan informed Andrew that the executive had decided on a few options depending on several scenarios that we discussed. But to reiterate, if Arnold gets a new trial, then they will interview him that day and instruct the BC Crown Peck not to advise Arnold counsel. If Arnold gets an appeal, then they will try to push off the inquiry. If Calgary lays a charge, then they are to go with them to interview Arnold. And Detectives Brown and Allen will do the interview with Leggy monitoring. Andrew would not be going to that. Brown and Allen were more than competent investigators. Maybe. That's just my commentary.
I mean, Leggy's not.
Yeah. But they all felt a two-team approach was in order. Leggy and Andrew also knew Arnold more than anyone and should be involved in the interview as recommended by the FBI profilers. On February 2nd, 2001, what?
This is all what I just read.
Oh. It is?
Yeah.
That's great.
You. Yeah, you. Still haunting the same old fast fashion?
Time to dig up something better with Back from the Dead Goods, a Canadian small business where forgotten threads get a second life and sustainability meets spooky. This isn't just upcycled clothing. It's resurrected fashion with an eerie edge. Handpicked, reworked, and revived, every piece is as unique as a ghost story whispered at midnight. And because you're a part of the Canadian Creepies family, you get an exclusive deal. Use code Canadian Creepies at checkout for 10% off. Find them lurking on Instagram, Etsy, and Poshmark. Links are in the episode description. Give your wardrobe a second chance at life, if you dare. Hey creeps, it's Valerie here, and if you're anything like us, you love capturing a moment, whether it's spooky, sweet, or somewhere delightfully in between. Let me introduce you to our go-to for stunning shots, darkroom photography based right here in the heart of the Niagara region. Mel, the brilliant eye behind the lens, is a lifestyle and creative photographer who brings a little bit of magic and maybe a touch of mystery to every session. She's got all her prices listed right on her website, super transparent, no tricks. And she runs killer seasonal specials around Mother's Day, Halloween, Christmas, and more. I'm telling you, her Halloween sessions, creepy perfection. So, if you're in the Niagara area and looking to capture memories that are hauntingly beautiful, hit up Mel at mel@darkroomphotography.ca or check out her work at www.darkroomphotography.ca. That's Darkroom Photography, where your memories come to life, even in the dark. Looking for your next obsession? The Creators Collective Podcasts is your gateway to the dark, the chilling, and the downright fascinating. We're a community of independent podcasts with one goal: to share the best in true crime, paranormal tales, folklore, and unexplained mysteries. Whether you crave cold cases that won't stay closed, haunted histories that refuse to be forgotten, or stories that make you sleep with the lights on, there's a show waiting for you in the collective. And when you join us, you're not just listening to one podcast. You're stepping into a world of creators who love this stuff as much as you do. Check out the Creators Collective today. Follow the link in our show notes to discover your next favorite podcast. We'll be waiting for you. Support reproductive justice in Niagara. Niagara Reproductive Justice is a grassroots collective based in the Niagara region of Ontario, working to increase visibility and access to sexual and reproductive health care. They support people seeking abortion and other essential care by offering transportation, financial assistance, logistical help, and emotional support. Here's how you can help. You can make a one-time donation. Send an e-transfer to niagarareproductivejustice@gmail.com. Your support helps cover costs like gas for volunteer drivers, overnight stays, childcare, and other urgent needs. You can also support monthly via Patreon. Join their Patreon and support the cause month to month. It's patreon.com/Niagara Reproductive Justice. And you can volunteer your time. NRJ is always looking for volunteers to help with driving, outreach, admin support, and community organizing. If you're looking to make a real impact in the Niagara region, this is a great place to start. Contact them via email or DM them on Instagram or Facebook to learn more. You can find them on Instagram at Niagara Reproductive Justice and on Facebook at Niagara Reproductive Justice. Help amplify access to reproductive care right here in our own backyard. Whether you donate, volunteer, or spread the word, you're a part of the movement. And we're back. That's okay. On March 9th, 2001, Andrew dropped off Detective Sergeants Brown and Legge at the Winnipeg airport. They were heading to Edmonton to interview Arnold's sister Tracy and her common-law husband. They all believed that she may have some of Arnold's belongings, but Andrew did not believe he had enough to swear to a warrant. The next day, Andrew received information from Brown that they had spoken with Tracy's common-law husband, and he informed them of the following. He has in his possession a box with Arnold's belongings. 2, the box in question was not at Terry's mother's residence when they executed their warrant months earlier. 3, the box is at the common-law husband's residence in Edmonton in his closet, and he is willing to turn it over.
Good.
4, there may be more possessions in his residence, such as letters, photos, and VHS tapes.
God, if there's anything else on the VHS tape like before.
Oh, my Lord. And 5, Tracy Arnold may not agree to a turnover. Brown then requested that investigators obtain a warrant for the house, garage, and any vehicles on the premises. Andrew quickly drove to Winnipeg and arranged to meet with the magistrate after completing the necessary paperwork. He then faxed the warrant to Edmonton, where it was executed. After all this work, Andrew was called a few hours later and advised that there was no worthwhile seizures. That's what you get. On March 12, 2001, Detective Sergeant Allen not that I'm on the killer's side, but these cops have been useless. On March 12, 2001, Detective Sergeant Allen and Andrew flew to Victoria and met with West Shore RCMP Staff Sergeant Bruce Brown. They had made arrangements earlier to have an interview room available for them in the event that Arnold was willing to adhere to the spring order. A spring order, in the context of Ontario criminal justice, is a type of bench warrant or arrest warrant that is issued by a judge or justice of the peace but is held or resprung and not immediately executed. After updating RCMP members, Andrew met up with Rick Saul and they candidly reviewed the case to date and what lay ahead of them the next day. Brown and Legge then joined the rest of the team in Edmonton. They were all upbeat and positive about the upcoming interview that they had waited so long for. By this point, everything was against their success. Some tells me it's going to continue to be. On March 13th, 2001, the entourage arrived at the gates of William Head Institution in the early morning. After clearing the security checkpoint, they walked inside the compound that was bordering a picturesque view of the ocean that surrounded Vancouver Island. It was mid-morning when Brown and Allen met with Arnold in the segregation interview room. It had large plexiglass around it, allowing the team to have a clear view, but they could not hear what was happening inside. They sat around a rectangular table and looked sternly at the man most would consider a monster.
I do.
Same. He was still wearing that filthy white t-shirt. Gross. A few moments later, they exited and advised the team that he refused to be videotaped and was awaiting a call from his lawyer. He'd also refused to leave the prison on the spring order. After speaking with his lawyer, Brown and Allen escorted him out of the interview room to obtain his paw prints. And just before noon, Arnold was brought back to the segregation interview room and was questioned by Brown and Allen briefly. They had mentioned that he was emotionally underdeveloped, but no one could have believed what happened next.
Oh, great.
He appeared to be upset at something that was said to him. He stood up from his chair and lay on the floor on his stomach like a toddler who was throwing a tantrum. He was having a timeout. Their interview was over.
Wow.
Perhaps now the powers that be would agree that a two-team approach was in order. This initial attempt at an interview lasted only minutes before he shut it down. A single-team approach that was recommended by them would have been another blunder in the case. At 1:28 p.m., Legge and Andrew finally got their chance to interview Arnold. Legge opened the door and was met by him standing in front of them, complaining about his food being taken away. Legge calmed him down and asked him to sit, and he agreed. He was said to be void of any human side, thinking only of himself. In order to understand Arnold, investigators had to step away from any moral compass. Trying to convince him that raping an 8-year-old girl was wrong would be an absolute waste of time. Wow. All right.
What a
Terry
statement.
Arnold was a piece of shit.
What a statement.
Arnold had also been described as a serial killer. For the most part, serial killers commit murder for some sort of psychological benefit. Due to the fact that his murders are poorly planned, it was maintained that they were a result of rage from rejection and, as he would confess later, a way of keeping the victim silent. Knowing that a direct approach would not work, Andrew wanted to take control away from him in the interview. He needed to get inside his head, and the pressure was immense. After all the effort the team made trying to come along for the interview, the pressure was on. They could not fail. Why does this look like neither of us are recording?
No, we are.
Okay, good. Sorry, I panicked there. Okay.
We've had some technical difficulties before.
Yeah. Arnold had already taken control of the interview by demanding it not be recorded. Any notes on their part could be criticized later as not being verbatim. Andrew then spoke the words he had been longing to say. You are being investigated for the murder of Barbara Stoppel in the city of Winnipeg on December 23rd, 1981. Arnold indicated he understood, and he had spoken with his lawyer, who advised him not to say anything. Andrew told him that he fully expected his lawyer to recommend that he not talk to investigators, but if he liked, Andrew would offer some of the information they had against him, and he could answer if he liked. He agreed. Knowing that a direct approach would not work, is that where I was?
Yeah.
Andrew wanted to take control away from him in the interview. He needed to get inside his head. The pressure was immense. After all the effort the team made trying to come along for the interview, the pressure was on. They could not fail. Andrew had already taken...
Arnold.
Sorry.
No. It's because they both start with an A.
I know, they do. Arnold and I correct you all the time, so please, anytime. Arnold,
I appreciate when you do that, though, because I read too fast and I suck at pronouncing things.
It's fine. I just, you
You got my back.
I do.
Teamwork.
I really do. Okay, I already read that, actually. Okay, Andrew explained that the police had executed a search warrant at his sister's residence in Edmonton and outlined the reason for the palm print warrant. Arnold was more concerned about the articles Suzanne Wilton had released than what Andrew had to say.
I like how he's taking
This is the
screenshots.
most chaotic episode we have ever done.
Richard literally just stomped all over our keyboard again. Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's just, we're like way over there. This is the most chaotic episode we've ever done.
If we were filming this would be hilarious.
Wow. You would see the obstacles. Okay. He complained that Suzanne Wilton had put words in his mouth. Arnold also said that he would not submit to a voluntary blood or hair sample. Investigators could have obtained a warrant for this at any time, but there was no evidentiary value for the case. There really wasn't anything to test it against, and that would imply his guilt.
I mean, that's because Ken took the tissue.
That's right. That's exactly why.
Fucking Ken.
They were only he's not just Ken. He's not just Ken. They were only asking for a sample to make him think and be curious about what they had, but he didn't know that.
Oh,
They were being
tricky.
Yes. Andrew decided to use the information from the search warrant in a barrage of factual assertions to set the tone, hammering Arnold at every moment of deceit. They wanted him to know what they knew and diminish every excuse he could come up with. Here's the information from the transcript from this interview. Andrew said, this is Andrew, he is saying, I have reasonable and probable grounds for believing that you, Terry Samuel Arnold, at the city of Winnipeg, on or about the 23rd day of December, in the year of our Lord, 1981, did unlawfully kill Barbara Gale Stoppel and did thereby commit murder in the first degree contrary to the provisions of the Criminal Code of Canada. Do you understand? My grounds for believing this are as follows. On December 28th, you attended the St. Boniface Hospital and had a conversation with Barbara Stoppel's mother, Muriel. You identified yourself as a truck driver who had frequented the Ideal Donut Shop and knew Barbara Stoppel. The fact is, Terry, you went to the hospital to see if she was dead. You wanted to know if you would be identified, he said confidently. Terry then replied, I didn't do it. I wasn't there. He replied, looking at the floor. I don't know if that's Terry's voice yet. I'll try a different voice next time.
I think he's a bit more like a goober. Like, I didn't do it. I wasn't there.
Yeah. Andrew then said, not there. 2 witnesses that knew you saw you bothering a waitress in the afternoon inside the donut shop. You were even wearing a cowboy hat. You're well aware, as I told you before, that you have no alibi for the time when Barb was attacked. We flew Jackie in from England, and she has given us a statement that you didn't arrive in the Salisbury house until after 2 a.m. and that you were wearing a cowboy hat. Andrew told Terry and then paused and waited for his response. Terry then replied, "If I was in the donut shop, the very first thing I would have done is buried what I was wearing. I would have thrown it in one of those trash bins," he reasoned. Then he denied ever calling in a tip on the murder. Then
Didn't he throw away a box, though, that had half the shit?
Yeah.
He did ditch stuff.
He did ditch stuff. Andrew then said, "On December 31st, 1981, at 12:55 p.m., you called Winnipeg police from the McDonald's restaurant at 79 Goulet, the same McDonald's that you were sitting in on the day of the murder waiting for Barb to be alone," he said. Terry replied, "That's bullshit, bullshit, bullshit," Terry shouted. Andrew then said, "You identified Robert Fournier as a possible suspect in Barb's murder. On January 3rd, 1982, using the name Terry Barbie, you reported to police that an acquaintance looked like the suspect in the Stoppel murder. Once again, on January 22nd, you called police from the Dominion Shopping Center saying you had information on the Stoppel murder. You had seen yet another person that looked like the person responsible for the murder," Andrew boldly asserted. "There was no way out for him this time." Terry responded with, "I don't know why I did," he confided, still staring at the floor. Andrew continued to pressure him on each point of the warrant, exposing his guilt. He denied wearing a cowboy hat or cowboy boots and never wore a knife. In fact, he denied liking country music, eating pistachios, drinking coffee, working at the Red River exhibition in the summer of 1981, and anything else that investigators knew was associated with the killer.
I just don't exist.
I am not human. I'm a ghost.
I'm from another dimension. I've never been on this plane of existence before. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't even know what living is. Andrew then said, "You know, Terry, the fact that you were wearing what your mother called your Indiana Jones hat, cowboy boots, knife, and enjoyed pistachios as Victoria Spakowski told me in person is in no way near as damning for you as your denial. It implies guilt." Terry, "That's bullshit. I wasn't there. I didn't do it." Andrew, "Keep in mind, Terry, if you lose your appeal and go for Barb's murder, it's a freebie," Andrew said. Terry replied with, "What do you mean?" he asked, looking up from the floor. Andrew said, "You're already doing time for the murder. How much time do you think they will add in this country?" "Nothing," he explained. Arnold seemed to reflect on this bit of information. At this point, they felt they had pressed far enough and set the stage for an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence against him. "Look through our eyes, Terry. Put yourself in our shoes. With all the evidence I just gave you, what would you think?" he asked. Terry replied, "It would give you cause to look at me, but I didn't do it." Andrew then said, "Terry, you were in the donut shop on the day of the murder." This was a fact he had trouble escaping. Terry said, "I did go there once. I saw my mom inside and I borrowed some money from her. I didn't leave my palm print," he said. Andrew then said, "If that palm print is yours," and he said it smiling. Then Terry said, "If the palm print is mine, it's a significant thing," he replied, and then asked how long prints last. Andrew, "Don't worry too much because you were wearing gloves on the night of the murder." Terry, "I don't hang out in donut shops. I'm a McDonald's person." Andrew, "I'd have to agree with you there. You were spotted in the McDonald's several times during the day she was murdered. You seem to be looking at the donut shop." Andrew said in a matter-of-fact manner, "That's bullshit." He was getting agitated. Now Andrew wanted to attempt to get some sort of sympathy going for him. He had always made himself out to be a victim, and perhaps investigators could use this angle to diminish his responsibility in the acts he had committed. Andrew said, "As you know, I executed search warrants at your mother's trailer, your sister's house, your cell, and prison storage rooms. I have read your 1.5-page story on how you were abused by your stepdad on the farm. I also understand that once you even woke up in your crib, wearing diapers with a freshly cut off pig's head."
Ugh.
Yeah.
I kind of understand why Terry is
Why
the
Terry's
way he
messed
is.
up, yeah.
Not that excuses anything that he's done, but I understand.
Arnold paused and looked directly at Andrew and then back at the floor. It was a pig's leg, and it was tied to me, he lamented. Andrew, and how were you supposed to end up? He asked. Terry, pretty fucked up, he said solemnly. As far as Andrew was concerned, this was a massive shift in his demeanor. Andrew had offered him an excuse for what he had done in the past and could have gone even further. All he had to do was confirm the misinformation they had just told him. It wasn't a pig's head. It was just a leg, which was slightly less offensive.
I think either is pretty offensive.
Yes. Terry had actually told the truth, when a lie would have been more advantageous. Apparently, his mother and stepfather tied the bloody pig's leg to him as he slept in his crib. Then they left the house and commenced tapping outside his window. The tapping noise woke him up as they stood back and laughed at his reaction when he realized he was covered in blood.
That's horrible.
Honestly horrible. Leggy then showed Arnold the articles that Suzanne Wilton had been publishing on him. We will meet again on my terms, Arnold snorted. Again, Leggy and Andrew tried to convince him to have a video statement, either at the prison or at the RCMP office, to which he replied, I don't want to hear any more. It's more than I can handle. Leggy and Andrew left the room, and they all headed back to everyone headed back to their hotels.
It's more than you can handle. How do you think a trial is going to go?
Louise. Andrew didn't want to go back to Winnipeg without giving Arnold another interview. It was decided that Detective Sergeant Paul Brown and Andrew would speak with him again. The next day, Brown and Andrew entered the same interview room and were once again locked in with Arnold. Brown gave him a copy of the impression warrant, while he again complained about the newspaper article about him. He was not impressed. Brown and Andrew again explained the difference between first and second degree murder and the concept of intent. Andrew then reviewed what he believed happened the day Arnold murdered Barb. In the summer of 1981, you and Barb worked at the Red River exhibition, and that is when you first met her. In all likelihood, she was friendly with you as she was with everyone. In fact, for all I know, she may have taken some of your clothes home for her mother to wash. You developed what you called a crush on her. Later in December, you accidentally saw her working at the Ideal Donut Shop. You felt that there should be a relationship, but she wants no part of you. On the day of the murder, you are in her shop and offer to serve customers. She tells you to stop and asks you to leave. You become enraged and go to the McDonald's facing her store, waiting for her to be alone. That's when you went in, strangled her in the bathroom out of rage. Arnold appeared nervous and began twitching. She was robbed, and that's what I heard on the news, he replied. Then they showed Arnold his arrest photos from 1981 and 1982, and he agreed that he looked like the composite. And in fact, he admitted that he had what Sofanow didn't have, a pizza face scarred with acne. Investigators then produced an aerial photograph of the area and pointed out the donut shop in its proximity to Terry's apartment and where Barb lived. Where's the McDonald's, he asked, because I'm not a donut guy. I'm a McDonald's guy. You would see me there. They did, Terry. You were seen there. Just before the murder. You were watching the donut shop waiting for her to be alone. I wasn't there. I didn't do it, he replied. Surprisingly, Arnold now attempted to show empathy for the Stoppel family, stating, I would go for the murder to give closure to the family, but there's someone out there that did do it. He's a living, breathing human, and he has to be caught.
That's you.
That's you. You're the guy. You're the guy who did it.
I wouldn't call you human, but you're the living, breathing thing.
Yeah, you're the thing that did it. Andrew found it interesting that Terry seemed to know that the killer was alive and, more importantly, referred to him as a living, breathing human being.
He wants empathy.
Yeah. At 1:55 p.m., Brown left the room and Andrew spoke with Arnold alone. It seemed like the interview was becoming redundant and he had little or no incentive to confess. Much like he had done in the youth center and Seven Oaks, he was burning people out with his circular retort. He was certainly not someone you would want to speak with unless you had a purpose. Knowing that their interview was coming to an end, Andrew reiterated the evidence that they had against him and confidently asserted them point by point. He wore a cowboy hat. He wore cowboy boots. He loved pistachios. That's such a funny thing to have in there. He wore a knife. He knew Barb. He worked at the Red River X. He phoned in numerous tips. He had no alibi. He had several tips called in on him. He was seen in the donut shop, bothering a waitress on the day of the murder. He lived across the street. He went to the hospital to see if he had to leave the city. He looked like the composite. Most importantly, he denied all of these points, even though Andrew could corroborate them with witnesses, including his own family. Arnold leaned forward and spoke in a quiet tone. I want to speak off the record. I want to tell you something, but I cannot share it with anyone else. He was acting like a child. You know I can't do that, Andrew replied. I've done some bad things in my life, and I'm no angel, Arnold said quietly. I know what you've done, Andrew said. You have to understand, I won't say I did any crime, but if things go as you say, and I'm here, then I can work on making things go away, to get them over with. He was opening the possibility of a plea bargain. He then explained that he wanted to wait for the appeal decision in May, and then he would be willing to talk with Andrew, but only Andrew. Then he would be willing to make a deal. He knew which cases against him were the strongest and which were the weakest. I'm willing to talk about some cases, and I want to talk about them man to man. I respect you, but you have to understand I'll never admit I did any crime. Arnold said almost in a whisper. Andrew then got up from his chair and walked towards the interview room door when suddenly Arnold walked in front of him and placed his hand on the intercom, covering it so no one could hear. I'll deal, but Winnipeg, I just can't do it. But you're not denying it, Andrew replied with a smile. Just keep your mind open, Terry. Wait until May. You might change your mind. He left the room after shaking the hand of the bastard that murdered Barb, Christine Brown, Denise Lapierre, and most important and most likely Roberta Ferguson, and raped so many others. As investigators, they too often have to disguise their own contempt and focus on the goal at hand, being cordial to him, like so many other sex offenders he had interviewed, left nothing but disgust in him. He had to get a confession, but he left open the possibility that a deal might be done in the future, and Terry was willing to talk with him again. During the course of the reinvestigation, the common theme was to keep as much information about the case from the public eye as possible. The series by Suzanne Wilton and her colleague in Vancouver had already exposed much of what Arnold had been up to over the years. As a result, investigators felt that there was no further need to keep requesting a sealing order for their warrants. The public was soon to learn officially why police believed Arnold murdered Barb. The publication of the information in the warrant serves as a public relations coup for the police. It shows their diligence in pursuing the new suspect, and it casts light on what went wrong with the previous investigation into Sofanow. If Arnold can never be brought to trial, police have at least been able, through the publication of the information in the warrant, to detail a case that might otherwise have never been presented to the public. More important than the public rightfully knowing what had occurred, the families deserved to know. They could not charge Arnold for what he had done, and soon he would even know that. Wow. I think we should stop there.
Yeah, it's a good place.
They couldn't charge him? Fuck me.
Yeah, because Buddy destroyed and stole all the evidence.
Yeah, how would they do that?
He did them dirty.
He did them dirty. Wow. Ready for Creep of the Week?
I'm down for Creep of the Week.
This one is nominated by our listener, Shelby.
What up, Shelby?
Thank you, Shelby. Okay, so our Creep of the Week this week is Adam Strong.
I bet he's pretty weak.
Yeah. And this story contains graphic content, and I'm reading it right from Global News. Graphic and disturbing details were heard in court, it says on Wednesday, and this was 2020. So this was in 2020.
Yeah, so it was 6 years ago.
Yeah. Graphic and disturbing details were heard in a court about how accused double murderer Adam Strong handled 18-year-old Rory Hashay's remains. He is the creep of the week. In a second interrogation video from November 2018, played before the Oshawa, Ontario court, Strong addressed rumors about necrophilia and his sexual encounters with the victim, and also opened up about his troubled childhood. Strong is facing first-degree murder charges for the deaths of Hashay and Candace Fitzpatrick, who was 19. Detective Paul Mitten began by asking Strong about Fitzpatrick, who vanished in 2008 and has not been heard and was not heard from since. He said investigators had found tissue on a knife in Strong's home with her DNA. It's devastating news that Candace's DNA was found on an object in your house, leading investigators to believe she had the same demise as Rory, Mitten says in the tape. That was a procrastination issue on me, replied Strong. All I had to do was boil it. What a loser. He's a fucking creep of the week. He's creep of the century. The court also heard blood, including from Hashay, was found on Strong's staircase and on the bedroom ceiling and wall where a headboard would be. As Mitten showed the accused numerous images, Strong said repeatedly investigators had done a horrible job. The detective also asked Strong numerous times about his sexual relations with the victim, telling him investigators had found his semen after examining Hashay's pelvis, which was found in Strong's basement freezer. Strong appeared shocked in the tape. He said, "I took her apart, right? So it could have spilled." Later on in the video, he went on to describe dismembering the body, saying it felt natural the way I cut around the socket and everything released. Detective Mitten also brought up rumors about Strong having sexual intercourse with the victim post-death, something the accused denied repeatedly. The hours-long
They can tell.
Yeah, they know. The hours-long interrogation also revealed a troubling childhood for Strong, who said he was raped by a woman babysitter when he was 4 years old and began having deviant thoughts at the age of 7. Oh, is that you?
That's my pump.
Oh, okay. Throughout the interview, Detective Mitten tried to get Strong to open up about the possibility of additional victims besides Hashay and Fitzpatrick, and Strong remained tight-lipped. The defense is expected to argue that the judge should dismiss both interrogation videos. So I guess we can look back into that.
Yeah.
That was just one article I read on him, so we might have to look.
I vote we look into that, because what the fuck?
He's going to be Creep of the Week again, so we can look more into it.
What a weirdo.
What
a disgusting person.
Yeah. Wow. I took her apart, right? Fuck off, buddy. Oh my God. Okay, my head hurts from this episode. My head hurts. You can email me, CanadianCreepiesPodcast@gmail.com. You can email Christine, Canadian Creepies Research @gmail.com. You can follow Canadian Creepies on Instagram, Canadian Creepies Research on Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, Radio Valerie, TikTok, Radio Valerie, Down the Crooked Path.
On TikTok
and
and Instagram.
YouTube. You can find us everywhere.
We're all over. If it's social, we probably got it.
It's not hard to find us. Speakpipe.com/Canadian Creepies. Nominate your Creep of the Week, your hometown haunt.
We also have a Patreon. Check that out.
Check it out. We're going to start adding videos soon.
Yes.
And don't forget about the artist stuff. Create some merch.
Yes.
Create some merch. You keep most of the money.
We dig it. We want to build a community.
We're building a community. We love you guys. Don't let the bed creeps bite.
Creep you later.